Hello, everyone. So, one of the items being brought up in The Guardian's summary today is Zelensky's concerns that the tensions between U.S. and Iran will affect the possible peace meeting, another peace meeting at the United Arab Emirates. The Emirates have been kind of a neutral ground of choice between Russia and Ukraine. A lot of the talks took place there and in Turkey, and that's pretty much where most of the big POW exchanges have been agreed on. With everything already happening in Ukraine, what Zelensky wants is a reasonably safe, stable location where to meet with the other parties involved. And so, any big conflict in the region would definitely be problematic. So he did say that if U.S. does take action against Iran, the date and place for the next meeting with the Russian delegation may have to change. Understandable. And here's another thing. And I do agree with this. It is very important for us that everyone we agreed with be present at the meeting. Yes. Because, obviously, it would be a waste of time to have to rehash everything discussed at the previous meeting with a completely new set of people. So, that is still in the air. We'll have to see. There was a statement from Kremlin inviting Zelensky to come to Moscow for peace talks. And he replied that Putin should come to Kyiv instead, and added, if you dare. We're still not getting a lot of details regarding this very brief ceasefire against Ukrainian civilians. Now, what we do know is that there indeed have been no strikes against civilian infrastructure since yesterday, since Friday. So that is going on. And in return, Ukraine have carried out no strikes in Russia, even if it was against their military objects. Now, here's the thing. If Ukraine's enemy, Russia, if it was a decent country, well, first of all, it wouldn't have invaded to begin with, but also, at the very least, it would have restricted its military operations to the front, where we have basically the fighting between the armies. However, Russia decided to not just restrict those operations to just the front, and has been basically continuously assaulting Ukrainian civilians for over a year now. As I mentioned in the past, the plan was to put Ukrainian civilians in such dire straits that they would start putting pressure on their own government to surrender, if only to stop this nightmare. This didn't happen. Majority of Ukrainians continue to staunchly oppose surrendering any territory to Russia and giving Russia anything at all. Basically, people are just saying Russia needs to leave. We are not interested. So now, the term for this particular ceasefire, according to the Trump administration, is 1 week. And again, my question is, can we elaborate on what is included? And also, what happens after 1 week? They're just going to start pounding people again. Also, what happens if Russia starts attacking civilians before 1 week is up? We know that they could orchestrate an attack on their territory, blame it on Ukraine, and then use it as an excuse to go and start attacking Ukrainian civilians again. Following Estonia's call to introduce preliminary measures to block visiting or immigration by Russians into Europe following this war, the incoming Dutch Prime Minister, Rob Jetten, also expressed opposition to reopening diplomatic channels between Russia and EU. And his point is valid. It's like, why? What have they done to deserve this? What have they done? Because basically the ending of that type of interaction between EU and Russia was the result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the subsequent sanctions. So his position is, what has Russia done to alleviate the situation that would show that they deserve to interact with us again? The answer is nothing. So why bother? Meanwhile, not surprisingly, Hungary's Orban continues to oppose Ukraine's joining EU. And again, my question to you is, guys, you have an enemy in your midst. Somebody who would sell you out to Russia. Maybe you should consider a policy for expulsion. Now, here's the thing. Even with the suspended attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure, the damage is already substantial. And here's one part of the damage. Chernobyl once again lost power a few days ago following those strikes. Now, Chernobyl's power was restored. There was no direct threat to people. But my question remains, how long are we going to keep biting that particular bullet? Again, when the week is up and Russia starts attacking Ukraine's power infrastructure again, this is going to just keep happening. Overall, the problem is, one, for people of Ukraine to keep the lights on, to keep the water flowing, to keep the heat on. And two, your basic nuclear energy security. In addition to the concerns at Chernobyl nuclear power plant and Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, there are now also concerns at Khmelnytsky nuclear power plant. That is a facility in western Ukraine. Since the western part of Ukraine has been pounded less than the eastern part, this one has been operational. However, there have been attacks on the substations that connect it to the grid, and that is a problem. So there are still a lot of questions about this suspension of the attacks, and there's still a lot of concerns about nuclear power safety, because right now in Ukraine, there isn't any. More to come.